In Chapter 4, we're going to look at the behavioral approach to leadership. Now, this approach is also called leadership styles later in the textbook, so I'm going to use the terms interchangeably. Behavioral approach because it focuses on the behavior of the leader, but leadership styles because we're going to be dealing with what can be considered styles. First of all, let's talk about what is a style. A style, in the broadest sense, are the habitual choices that one makes in terms of behavior. For example, a lot of times we use style to talk about how people dress. What is my style for doing these videos? I habitually wear a solid colored shirt and a sports coat. That's my style for this for these leadership videos. So what is a leadership style? A leadership style are the habitual choices of behavior that one makes to help others work together to achieve a common goal. So the idea there is choices of behavior. What do I usually do? How do I usually behave when I interact with other people so that so we can work together to accomplish a goal? So this style approach to leadership has a focus on the habitual behavior of the leader. So this is different. We're not looking at traits or skills. We're looking at behavior, what the leader actually does. And in this specific style approach that we're looking at, it focuses exclusively on how leaders tend to act along two crucial dimensions. Two types of behaviors. So what are these types or groups of behaviors? The first is task behaviors, in contrast to relationship behaviors. Now, task behaviors are things that you do to get tasks done, to get the work done. It's things that you do to help group members achieve goals and objectives. Sometimes this is called initiating structure or concern for results. Now you might be saying, well, isn't that everything that a leader does? Well, no, a lot of times, instead of just being focusing on the task, the leader needs to be focused on the people that he or she is trying to lead. And so those would be relationship behaviors. And in relationship behaviors, you want to help group members feel comfortable with themselves, with each other, and the situation, and just have all around good relationships, because as humans, we have a need for good relationships with other people. So relationship behaviors help develop healthy relationships in the work context. Sometimes this is called consideration, in contrast to initiating structure, or concern for people, in contrast to concern for results. So we've got these two main sets of behaviors that either contribute or don't contribute to accomplishing the task or helping relationships. So the leadership style theory can be summarized by the leadership grid that was designed by Blake and Mouton back in 1966, and it's still really good. We've got a couple of dimensions. The vertical axis is concern for people. If you're functioning down at the bottom, you're not very concerned for people. And if you're functioning up at the top, like on 9, 8, 9 on a scale between 1 and 9, you have a high concern for people. And then you've got a horizontal axis where 1 means, which is the concern for the results. 1 is you're not very concerned about what people do towards accomplishing their goals. And 9 is being very concerned for being with the goals. And you can be in any point on this grid. And each of these each of the extreme points of the grids has a certain title. So let's talk about what these different points are. Down in the bottom, with low concern for people and low concern for results, that 1-1 corner is called impoverished management. And that's where the manager or the leader isn't very concerned about people and isn't very concerned about results. They don't do much. They just kind of let people do what they want to, maybe just do enough to get the minimum amount of work done, but there's no real concern shown for either results or for people. So that's impoverished leadership or management. Still, on that left side, where you're low for concern for results, but you're really concerned about people, where you're like this really friendly, caring person, but you're really not concerned about what they do, is called country club management, where you're just there to be an encouragement and help satisfy the needs of the people that you're responsible for. And you're just a friendly, warm guy, and you let the people do whatever they want. That might be appropriate if the other people are a lot more competent than you are, and you just want to provide encouragement, but it might not be the best way to do things in most situations. Now, in contrast to the country club management, high in concern for people and low in concern for results, you have the other extreme where you're extremely concerned about results, but you're not concerned about people, and this is called the authority compliance management. This is where you're concerned about getting the task done, and who cares about the people? And so this is you make sure that people do what they're supposed to do, and you don't necessarily take into consideration their needs as humans for good relationships. Now, up in the corner, you have, that's both high in concern for results and high in concern for people, you have what's known as team management. And this is where you do everything you can to make sure that people are doing well and that the work is being done well. And by being concerned about meeting people's needs, they'll give it their best. And by being concerned with helping them focus on the task and accomplish as much as possible, they'll be able to live up to their potential. And so this 9-9 quadrant is generally the best way to function, being extremely concerned about accomplishing the task, but also being extremely concerned about helping the individual. Now, in the middle, we have what's known as middle-of-the-road management. And this is where an awful lot of people fall. They're pretty concerned about the task, and they're pretty concerned about relationships, but they're not as concerned as they could be, and so it generally produces a good enough style of management or leadership called the middle-of-the-road style of leadership. So this style approach that basically says you need to be really focused on the task and you need to be really focused on the person when you're leading them has a lot of strengths. First of all, it's a major shift in leadership research and leadership theory. It doesn't focus just on the leader and what they're like on the inside, but it focuses on the behaviors and actions of leaders concerning the followers. So this is very different than the two previous theories that we looked at. Secondly, it's easy to understand and apply. These two categories of behavior, task and relationship, have been validated by a broad range of research. These two categories of behaviors have been observed over and over again, and constantly their impact has been validated. And they're easy to understand, so it allows leaders to classify and evaluate their own behaviors. So if you're in any position of leadership now, whether it's at home or at school or at work, you can look, aha, what am I doing to accomplish tasks, and what am I doing to strengthen relationships? And you can see that almost everything you do either contributes or hinders to one or other or the both. So it provides a really useful tool for us to evaluate our own leadership. And so personally, this is one of my favorite approaches to leadership because I can constantly be evaluating, okay, is there the need for task? Is there the need for relationship? What am I doing in terms of promoting or hindering task accomplishment or developing relationships? It's just a really good tool for self-evaluation. Now, it might not be perfect. The criticisms of this approach is that it predicts that the most effective leadership style is a high style, high task, high relationship. Now, research indicates that this is usually true, but not always. Sometimes, if you're in a situation where one of your responsibilities is to save the budget, fire people, you might not be able to do that if you have a high relationship style. And sometimes when you're working with very professional people who are extremely competent, they don't need much direction, and you need to give them a just relationship, and they can accomplish the task perhaps better than you can. So there's some situations where the high style is not the best style, the most appropriate for the situation. But nevertheless, employees are always more satisfied with supervisors who have a high concern for them. It's something, that high concern is something that always goes over well in long-term relationships. If you want to get employees to stay and be committed to developing and being committed to the organization. But in general, we can say that no universal style of leadership is effective or ineffective in all situations. Now, I teach at Azusa Pacific University, a Christian university, and we like to reflect on some of these concepts from a biblical perspective. And this idea of emphasizing both task and relationship is a really important biblical principle. In 1 Corinthians 13, a whole chapter that's written about the importance of love, it compares accomplishing great tasks with the importance of love. And it says, if I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, so if I'm doing all kinds of great tasks, all kinds of great things, but have not love, if I don't have love, I gain nothing. It doesn't count for anything. If I'm not loving people, if I don't have good relationships with them, if I'm not building a trusting relationship because I'm honest and caring and trustworthy, doing all these great things really isn't accomplishing anything in God's sight. So accomplishing great tasks without having good relationships doesn't count in God's eyes.